Funding wallets on TapTapSend. Step 1. Click on Create Ghana Cedi Wallet below when you open the app. Step 2. Enter amount of your choice in Ghana Cedis. Step 3. Click on the Confirm and Fund wallet below to confirm. Step 4. Your wallet has been successfully funded. Step 5. Enter amount of your choice in Ghana Cedis. Step 6. Select or add new recipient. Step 7. Choose wallet as payment method. Step 8. Click on the Pay with Wallet below to confirm. Step 9. Your transaction is successful.
My chef and party planner.
Good for mom's birthday.
You know we can't get this retirement/birthday shindling go wrong.
Everything is almost ready, but small problem.
Why, what's up?
We are way over budget, Kweku.
Everything is almost twice the estimate.
Alibaba, okay? No worries.
So with TapTapSend, I have got a cake and decorations covered from here.
You handle the food.
If any extra expenses comes up, just text me or call me.
I'm off today, so I should be easily reachable.
Hey, chairman, it is all day.
Say, no be easy, you. Chairman has time and money.
Would you so
Allah.
Kweku tap, Kweku do, Kweku that.
our chairman can call you.
Hey, Alande, chairman send them.
TapTapSend. Papa no.
Dr. Akos, you're on mute.
Am I?
No, Dr. Akos. Sorry.
Even better. Because I was like, hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to, and I was about to say time with Tap Tap, but here we are. OT Health Talk. Welcome. It's been a while we've seen you guys. It's exciting to be back. So today, you guess is a special day because we've got the three of us back here. I'm Dr. Akos, my co-host is Abena, and we've got our guest speaker, Dr. Kodzo, going to talk to us about breasts today. So, and of course, it's because October is sort of the World Breast Cancer Month, raising world breast cancer awareness. So, yeah, that's why we're having this talk, and we're going to have a series of sort of breast talks this month. But before we start anything, we'd just like to thank all our sponsors. We'd like to thank OT Media, TapTapSend, and of course, everybody who always joins us every Wednesday evening to join OT Health Talk. So yeah, and Abena, it's good to have you back.
Yes, thank you. I've been away for some time, sorting my own personal life out. I was doing some exams, but I'm back now. So, and it's lovely to be here, and it's lovely to have Dr. Kodzo back as my first guest. He was the first guest we had actually when we started the show. So it's lovely to kind of welcome you back and have you back to talk about your favorite subject, women. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, ladies. It's good to have you back, Abena. And Dr. Akos, I like your thingy on your hair. Very nice. Anyway, yeah. So October is a pink month, which I think the whole world, we kind of set it aside for breast cancer awareness. So we're going to have series of health talks on breast. And I won't go into breast cancer, but I'm just going to talk about breast health. Some few things that we're going to talk about. So the subsequent ones, I'm sure that by the end of the month, we'll probably be tackling like proper breast cancer. It may be me or it may be someone else, but whoever comes, like it should be here. All right. So why breast health matters? Why do we think it matters? Breast is very important. It's a significant overall well-being for both men and then women. Normally, when we say breast, I think we only think about the women, but men are also very important because, I mean, we have a little bit of just a small percentage. So I think why do we normally talk about breast the most? So basically, it is essential to monitor any changes that can significantly impact both your physical and mental health. When I say mental health, just know that even if you're not well or something is wrong, you are not functioning properly, automatically it affects your mental health. That's why I added mental health to it. Now, breast is very important for breastfeeding. We know breastfeeding. The primary function of the breast is to produce and release milk to feed babies, infants, and during pregnancy, hormones like estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, all these things that I mentioned are hormones. They stimulate the breast to develop and also produce milk. Secondly, breast is also important for sexual function. Breast plays a role in female sexuality in the sense that the stimulation of the breasts the stimulation of the breast or the nipples can enhance pleasure for the woman. And I think I've also heard somewhere that it also helps with men, but I don't know about that. Maybe it's true, but anyway. Then I think we have what is called a evolutionary function. These are more about scientific stuff. That breast evolved as a way for women to attract mates. So you see, there's sometimes people go like they say a guy would say that I'm a boob guy or sorry, the other one's word and all of that. But anyway, sometimes when you see ladies dress very nice and then everything is intact, it's kind of attractive. So those are the evolutionary functions. And early detection, anything about the moment you realize that there's any changes to the breast, it is advisable. And one thing you have to know that early detection of these issues can save lives because breast cancer is the most common cancer in women worldwide. Take it or leave it. And detecting changes early, especially cancer, can lead to more effective treatment and improve survival rates because that is what we are doing. If you are meant to have it, you are meant to have it. There's nothing we can do about it. But then, what we do is that we try as much as possible to intervene very early because that is the most important thing. You wouldn't want it to get to the later stage and then affect your life and then all that. And awareness also leads to empowerment. So knowing what's normal for your body helps in recognizing when something is off. I like the way women pay attention to their body. I mean, the slightest changes, they will notice it. But some of us men, we really don't care about that, which I think is a very good thing about the woman. But sometimes it's more about the outside, but not the inside. Your breast is not being exposed. So sometimes you don't really pay attention to inside. But I am encouraging each and every woman or lady listening to me here that you should pay attention to the inside more in as much as you'd want to show the outside for people to see that you are beautiful, like my beautiful Abena here. I mean, it's important that you also it's important that you also like check what is inside. That's the reason why self breast examination is very important. This applies to both men and women, like I said. Although breast cancer is far less common in men, they should also be aware of any changes in their breast tissue. That is for the men, and seek medical advice necessary. I will talk a little bit about the anatomy of the breast. I don't know if I can share my screen. I don't know. I wanted to, so I have a picture here. Give me some few seconds. Let me see.
Just a question before you even start. Is the anatomy of the woman's breast, the breast, the same for the genders?
That's, for some funny reasons, you are really asking a question that I've never really paid attention to. But I think it is not the same because the women have extra. Because they produce milk and then all of these things. So unless I don't know, maybe Dr. Kos can probably help me. But I've this is the I've never even paid attention to the anatomy of the man's breast because I mean it's all about women in my head. So I think there are certain things that's why I wanted to show, but I'm not too sure. I might probably look it up later on. So when it comes to the anatomy of the breast, let me see if I can get a picture real quick. Okay. They said the host disabled screen share, but anyway, I'll just do something about it. When it comes to anatomy of the breasts, there are different things that form up the anatomy of the breast. We have what we call the lobules. That is, these are small glands that produce milk during breastfeeding. We have the duct. The ducts are the tubes that carry the milk from these lobules to the nipple. And then we have the fatty tissue. Now, this fatty tissue surrounds and cushions the lobules and the ducts. And the amount of fatty tissues determines the breast size. So if you see a lady with a big breast, normally everything that is inside there that is important is very small, but excess of it is just fatty tissues. And also we have the lymph nodes, which is located near the breast. Some are found under the arms and also the collarbones. And these play a role in the immune system. Immune system is like the defense system in the body, which helps fight against infections. And they are also involved in the spread of breast cancer. So if there is an attack on your immunity, let's say if you're having any infection in the breast, and let's say these lymph nodes are not able, like the immune system is not able to fight it, it's going to be affected, which is going to allow it to travel all over the body. So understanding the basic anatomy helps individuals to differentiate what is normal and abnormal lumps or changes in the breast. Now let's talk about the normal development of the development of breast from puberty to menopause. Puberty, breast development, we all know, typically starts between it's different from it is different from every woman or every lady or every female, but I think it starts from somewhere around 8 and 13. You might see something coming out, which is driven by the hormone called estrogen, and the breast may feel tender or it could be lumpy during growth. Now, that is the first stage. Then you move on to the second stage, which is the menstrual cycle. Now, during your menstrual cycle, there are hormonal fluctuations during the cycle, which can lead to swelling, tenderness, and lumpiness in the breast. When I say tenderness in this, when I use the word tenderness, should I say it's a bit like pain? Should I say painful? That is what I mean. So you realize that sometimes when our ladies are on their period or on their menstruating, you realize that their breasts become painful. So if you mistakenly even touch or let's say even hit them, like they really feel it because it's swollen and then all that. And these are due to hormonal fluctuations. Next is pregnancy and then breastfeeding. Now, during pregnancy and breastfeeding, it enlarges. Why does it enlarge? It prepares for lactation, and often it also becomes like tender and then firm. And after childbirth, milk production begins, leading to further changes. So, and this is sometimes the reason why. Okay, let me finish the menopause. Then we move to the menopause. As estrogen, we've spoken about estrogen. I'm sure that by now people know what estrogen is. As estrogen level decreases when you grow, the breast may lose its firmness. It may become less dense and feel softer. So you realize that as our women grow, you realize that their breasts become sebi tree kasa mo kasa ebi ate anase bibiza, and this is what they are supposed to go through. And this is when we don't appreciate some of these things, it makes them feel like uncomfortable. But if you really know the woman's body system, if you know how it works and everything, you will get to understand why it has to go through some of these things, because they go through a lot in this period. a minute. Okay. All right, so I've been asked to like send a picture somewhere so that people can see it. All right, let me try it and just send the picture so I can go back and do that. Okay, I've sent the picture, so we can continue now. So as I was saying, like if you understand what they go through, as a woman, you realize that their body is like a journey, and it loses like its strength. That's like the whole body itself, not just the breast. So it start from somewhere. And then it gets to somewhere, and that is the reason why. Sorry, I can't see my screen anymore. What's wrong?
Technical issues. Apologies. Dr. Kojo, take your time. Maybe let's try and do the screen sharing. And then is Dr. Kojo still on? Dr. Akos?
Yeah, I think I've just admitted him back on. Dr. Kojo, are you on?
Yeah. And I think my village gods visited me.
Are you able to share your screen now? Can you try?
Let me see.
Anyway, it doesn't matter if
No,
you.
it's not. It's not. It's
Not the new one, no. So yeah.
Anyway, let me just continue. All right. So yeah, that is it. I've explained the different stages that the breast actually goes through, and then some of the roles that it plays. Now, what are some of the common breast conditions that we find out? There are some we have. These are medical terms, but I'm sure that some people may have probably heard of them. We have the non-cancerous conditions, where there's fibroadenomas. These are non-cancerous. These are solid tumors. Like when I say a tumor, I'll just say an abnormal growth that normally feels smooth, firm, and then mobile. When you realize there's any changes in your breast, and then you go, it is up to the doctor to examine you and then see. They will be able to tell you what it is. Sometimes you might have to get some scans to see what it is. And so yeah, we have the
Just try again. Just try share just one last time because I've made some edit. So just try one last time.
Nope.
Okay, that's fine. Go.
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we have different ones. We have the cyst, we have mastitis, we have fibrocystic, and all these things, and breast pain. Sometimes when you have some breast pain, you realize that there's some swelling and something like that, and you might probably think it might scare you. But when you go to the hospital, they'll rule all these things out. Self breast examination. Anytime women go to the hospital, we normally encourage them to do breast self examination. Why is it important? Performing regular breast self exams help to detect changes. So everything that you're actually looking for is a change in your breast. If there is a change, because normally you know how it is on a normal day, but then if you realize there are abnormal shape or something is growing, changes in size, shape, or color, that is the reason why we encourage like self-examination, because you never know what it could be. How do you perform it? They are different. When you go on Google and then you type perform a breast self exam, you'll see a lot of pictures. It is very, very simple. I wish I had a dummy here that I can actually, but then it's a visual. Step one is a visual inspection in front of the mirror. So what do? You stand in front of the mirror with your hands on your sides, and then you check. And then later, when you're done with that, you check whether you can see any differences. You compare both. Then you raise your arms, you put it behind your head or something. Like just make sure it's above your shoulders. And then look for changes to size, symmetry, and check for skin changes, like all these things that I've said. Step two is to palpate. I mean, you can lie down and then you'll be palpating. It's very easy. Sometimes when you palpate and then you just go in a circular motion, you just go through it. You are trying to find, what are you trying to find again? If you can't feel anything inside it, then you check the other side too if you find anything. So it goes in a circular motion. You start from the inner part, then you go circular like you do with outside. Then you check under armpit too, because I mentioned about the lymph nodes, and some of these maybe you might not know, but when you go to the hospital you feel that there is something, the doctor will do that. Step 3 is also palpation while standing in the sometimes we say in the shower. I've forgotten the reason why, but I think it says that it's often easier when the skin is slippery or something of that sort. You may be able to detect something. Yeah, you repeat the same thing too. The reason why you lie down and you stand, the way the breast is, it's like if you don't detect it, if there's something when you're lying down and you don't detect it, there's a sure chance that when you stand and there is something there, that wherever the thing is, it might probably fall, then you'll be able to detect it. When do you seek medical help? I think this is very simple. The moment you realize that there's a change, you're having like pains, any abnormal thing, something that is out of the normal, that is what you are looking out for. Skin changes, and especially if you start having nipple discharge. When I say nipple discharge, not just any discharge. The moment you see any yellowish, any green, I think when you see any blood or something of that sort, you need to rush and then go and then get it checked. And the changes in breast size, so you can see that the sizes of the breast are not the same, truth to be told. But at the end of the day, it should be one way or the other, like symmetrical. But when you see that one is way bigger than the other or something of that, yeah, you really have to do something. Persistent pain. When I say persistent pain, a pain that is not associated with your menstruation, because I mentioned that during your menstrual cycle there are hormonal fluctuations, and it can cause some pain. It can make you have some pains, and all. So, is there any other thing? Yeah. Every other thing that I'm going to talk about, I wouldn't want to say everything because it's a series and they will fall in the subsequent topics that we are actually going to talk about. So I'm going to end it here. I'll just talk about the healthy habits, lifestyle choices. I always say this, our lifestyle choices is very important. Weight management, maintaining a healthy weight reduces the risk of developing breast cancer. Regular exercises is very, very important. A balanced diet. Everything about the human body is a balanced diet. Then limit your alcohol and then also smoking. These are very, very important. Regular screening is very important too. I think back in medical school, it was said that, I don't know, I think every country has, but that age at which you are supposed to do mammogram or something of that sort. But I think from the age of 40, but if you have a history of breast cancer in your family, it is advised that you do it like 5 years or 10 years before that. I don't know in the other parts of the world, but that is what is being advised and that is what is encouraged. So I think I don't have much to say. I'm going to leave it for us to ask questions on what I've shared so far. Then we'll continue from there.
Oh, wow, you already have a hands up. Thank you very much.
Surprised.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kodzo, Dr. Kos. Any other last things you want to add, or do we go straight to adverts?
No, I think Dr. Kodzo pretty much covered it all. Let's see what the audience have to say in terms of questions, but I think we can do adverts now, and then we can come back. As we do the adverts, we think about all the questions you want to ask, because this is the place. Remember, we've got 2 doctors, so yeah, go ahead and shoot.
So
White
we'll be
Wall
back
Properties has all your property needs at amazing prices. Our unique development includes our flagship project, Arlington Court, which has a panoramic view covering several acres of a grass skyline. Some of our standard features include our gorgeous swimming pool, fitness centre and a communal garden.
Hello and welcome back. That was quite a short advert. I wasn't expecting us to come up so soon, but that's good. Yep. So as Dr. Akosia said before we left, this is the place where you get to ask this is the time where you get to ask all your questions. And it's not just questions related to breast cancer, but any health question. So we will take questions now and we'll start with Amma, who was very quick.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you, Doc. Doctor, good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is my topic. I love it because I've had breast cancer before, so I find it very interesting, and I tend to educate a lot of women on that. I would a bit possible because when you talk about it, no, it's best to really demonstrate it for our women to know, because it's amazing that when I sometimes do a health talk or I'm talking to women and then I ask them, most women don't know how to check their breast. Most women don't really know how to check their breast. So it would be very good to have a demo. And I think we did, I think one of these universities, I've forgotten, is it Coventry or I've forgotten, we did an animation because we wanted to just go and create awareness in Ghana. So there was an animation for the Ghanaians, and I think it's on hold. So we had the students, the first year students creating animation as to how to examine, and then there was a family whereby they had the woman had breast cancer, and then the support that the man gave, and the fear, because sometimes when they do the examination, the fear of going for the screening, it's most people are scared. But as I always say, early detection, early intervention is the key. So I'm so grateful for you throwing more light. But again, in Kaibetumia demo for the women to know how to check their breast, and very important. And then stress on screening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's very important that some of these things, when you do it, you have to get a visual representation of it. Especially when you have, if it was a dummy, it would have been much more. But I don't know if I can probably pull a video on YouTube and then we'll probably watch it from there. Aside that, the screening, it's also part of the topics that we are actually going to talk about, because people get confused. And like you said, there's this kind of stigma around the screen because some people are, they are very scared. Because I remember back in Ghana, I know that people are, they always say that they've heard that it's very painful. It's because how the mammogram is. It's like it kind of presses on your what's it called, your breast, and they think that it is very, very painful, but that's not it. It's like it really has to get a hit-to-hit impact to be able to capture everything that is actually going on there. So I'm going to touch on the screening on the subsequent topics. So this was more like an overview, like we getting into it. So I would even appreciate, I think the next one that we are going to talk about, I would even appreciate that you be on, and whoever, if it is me, I would want to even do it with you, because someone who has had breast cancer before, you had a direct impact of it, and then I think it's really going to help, because in the previous health talks, I think, I don't know whether it was sickle cell, we bring a patient and then they talk about their experience, and it was interactive. So if it's possible, maybe I'll probably take your number behind, and then I'll get in touch with you. Then I can liaise with you, and then we'll come back, and then whatever that you have shared or something that you've been doing, like you said, anytime you speak on breast cancer, I think it's going to be very, very helpful. I know when I was in VRA hospital, my boss, anytime there is he's going to allow you to go and then assess any patient at all, like whatever case it is. But when it comes to breast, he doesn't want you to go, and we never understood why. But as time went on, when I got closer to him, he made me understand that he doesn't joke with breast, and that he's not going to just allow someone to come and then miss it, because the moment you miss it, it's a big deal. So I appreciate it very much, and we are going to touch on them one by one, since it's like a whole month on it. We don't want to run everything out. So if you know someone, if you know a relative, your daughter, your auntie, your cousin, or whoever it is, make sure that you invite them so that they come and then pick one or two things from here. Yep. I think Jonas has a question.
Just before Jonas, so I think I may be able to share your the image you wanted.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
Yeah.
relevant. So let's try that. I also wanted to say, Amma, very happy that you are a breast cancer survivor, and glad to hear that. This is a topic dear to Dr. Akus and I's heart, as our cousin passed away from breast cancer. So this is quite good. Let me try and share your screen, your stuff, and then let's do it. Well, okay, I think I can share. Has it shared?
Yeah, I think I sent you 3. So the one with just the breast, like the second image. So shift it. The next image. Yeah, just.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, good. All right, yeah. So yeah, I was talking about the anatomy of the breast. Now, when you see where the chest wall is just the wall where the breast is attached to it. So I'm going to take it, since I don't have the cursor there, I won't be able to do that, but I'm just going to go according to steps. So the chest wall is like the wall is just there, and then the breast is attached to it. So the whole yellowish part and then the pink part is the breast. When you move to the dimension about the lobules, that is where I said that they are small glands that produce milk during breastfeeding. So those things that you see there, the men, I'm sure you don't know. I'm sure some of the women too don't know, but yeah, that is where the milk is being produced. And the lobes that you find over there is also part of the lobules. So if you pay attention very well, they've done, I think, one end to another end, and then the lobules are found inside there. And the ducts are the tiny I think, let me just say, I said it's a tube, so it's like a tube, where take it like a straw. You know when you put a straw in a drink and then you sip, that pipe, let me just say that pipe. So what does it do? They carry how do I teach my non-medical mother? Okay, I'll answer that question later. All right. So the tubes that carry the milk from the lobules to the nipple. So it's like more like a transporter. That's how it's transported. It goes to the nipple, so you can see the nipple there. That is where the baby or the infant put their mouth, and then they suck it out. So what they do is that they are is like a pressure. It's like just like the way you are maybe sipping a drink. Like that is just it. And the fatty tissue that I spoke about is like a cushion, and it cushions all these things that you see over there. Kind of give it a little bit of comfort. It can't just be there, more like a protective factor there. But then again, I mentioned that the amount of fat determines the breast size. So if you see a big breast, that is just fat. There is nothing inside there. The only thing that makes up the breast is this small thing that you see there. That is the most important.
Oh.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. So yeah, and then the lymph node, but unfortunately, I don't think they have the lymph node over here. So basically, that is it. Can you go to the previous image? I don't know what. Yeah. So as I said, I'm like, what are you looking for? What are some of the signs that you are actually looking for? There's something called the skin puckering, dumpling, and then rash or thickening. The moment you find out, like those, I don't know, it's an animated image, but I'm sure that you probably be able to figure out something. As it's not normal for you to see something like, okay, I don't have the cursor. Then again, if you see the lines over there.
Is this one?
No, the first one. The first one.
These lines. Okay.
All right. So you see the lines over there. Sometimes let's say you are growing and then you don't see those lines, nothing actually came there, you never saw anything, then you realize that there is something coming out. You realize that there is something going on. You see the black thing above the nipple too, it was never there. I'm not saying it's a birthmark. Like if it's a birthmark, you probably saw it way from when you were a child and then you were growing. But the moment you see anything of that sort, a rash or something of that sort just around the breast, it calls for concern. The second image, nipple rash or discharges too. You may not see the rash, but then there is a discharge. The discharge is the white thing that is dropping. So the moment I mentioned yellow, green, even blood, that is how bad it is. So anytime you see any discharge of that sort, it calls for a medical evaluation. Nipple inversion, I think I forgot to mention that. When I say nipple inversion, I don't have your nipple tends to invert. I don't know if you will even understand. The nipple, more like, let's say it turns. The nipple, you realize that akoshim as in MPCBP. I think a visual representation will do. I'll just put all these images together for our next session so that I'll be able to pick it one by one. And especially when we go to breast cancer, there's something called peau d'orange. It's a French word. And the moment you see any sign of that, sometimes when you buy an orange or when you see an orange, the top looks some way like I'll show you. I can't explain it by saying, but like I said, it's just an overview. So our next, I'll show you all these images and then we'll carry from there. So when you see a nipple inversion, shame be and as a nipple na be cause for concern because it was never like that. Change in shape or outline, you realize that it is too big. It's not as if you're on your period. It's not associated to menstrual cycle, nothing. But then all of a sudden, you have a swollen breast and it's very big. It calls for concerns. Unusual pain. It's not your menstrual cycle, but all of a sudden, you are not pregnant. There is nothing, but then you start to have pains. Unusual pains is still there. Even after your menstrual cycle, it calls for concerns. Lump or swelling in the breast or armpit. That one too, it calls for concern. So I'm sure that the lump or the swelling is what the light brown is what they've used. One is under the armpit and one is also above the nipple. So these are some of the signs you are actually looking for when you want, if there is something, an abnormal growth or there's something abnormal going on with your breast. Can you show me the last picture? So the last picture, like Auntie Emma, I don't know if I'm getting the name right, but Auntie Emma, like she was saying, Amma. All right, sorry. All right, so this is not a video, but this is like pictures, and it might not really make sense. But I mentioned that. So first of all, you stand in front of the mirror, and then you do what you make sure that your hand is above your shoulder. And as you can see, the lady is in a very nice pants, yellow pants, checking herself from the mirror. And what she is trying to do is that she's trying to see that the what's it called, the images that we showed before. She wanted to see whether she's going to find out there is any changes, there's any nipple, any swelling of the breast, anything of that. So that's what she is looking out for. Now, the second image is also like the same one, just that the first one she was just using one. This time around, the two hands goes up, like I said. To say you can say hands up, put your hands behind the way almost stitch a man for no. That's how you do it. Then you press your hand when it comes to the third, fourth, fifth. It's all about palpation. What do? You try to palpate if you are going to find any lump inside, if there is any changes or anything of that sort, any fluid. It's very necessary. I think I forgot this. When you press on the nipple, check whether there is any discharge that is going to come out, because sometimes the discharges might not just come. You might probably have to apply pressure, then you realize that there's something off. So like I said, when you do the standing one, then you do the sleeping one. In our next one, I'm going to put up a video. I'll probably get either an animated video, the self, and then how doctors also do it. So you get two two separate videos of how to check the breast, so that you have an idea if you've never checked it before. When you go to the hospital, what I'm going to show you is exactly what they are actually going to do. So I think the images are okay for now. So we can take the questions, then we'll leave the rest for the future. That's why I want everyone to come. for the subsequent ones.
Thank you. So that was a very detailed one. And yeah, I think it definitely will be better or best to have real life examples and videos for the next ones, as you've explained. So we'll now take questions and we'll start with Jonas.
Yeah, it was having trouble.
Yeah, Jill, so offer.
Wait, now, honestly, I did my busy but me see my message, you know. Me who say breast pet, I'm saying the baso. Where do you say a jamia to say VIP basa jago kokumasi? And who can about how to like last image now Obano mirror no. Now you were talking about it. Woman list their Obano share, but we see Oba baby so they don't know how to detect or how to check. It's like Nyamibo we are seeing Obo Bibia Miunu Bema yes you can also learn and help. Yeah, and I say a girlfriend's po. Na yes, yeah. Maybe Obano on to me, yeah, but Obi, yeah, a manu. Na Bemanu, yes, your training, yeah, to me, call it, yeah, dear, grow, dear, how dear, fee. Oh, and see, we can also kind of like the men on the platform, no, a better me, yeah, na the na chair ya practice yirimu and I girlfriends just to be able to dictate for them because the area no is about Africa and the education level of the women no, any the men no, is not to that standard of Europe. So that's why most of back home no, they don't even know how to check it. But yes, the men learn as the women are also learning, you know, it will even increase the level of awareness or detection. So, Bema no, yes, except a fracture, say, coffee no, a hoana, but we should also sometimes find time to also help our women. Now, they can also detect, we can help them to detect it. Because last one, I person me can say, breast cancer no cancer there meaning say genetical and I say inheritance and I say like and I say will be like it's transferable but the reason why because I know say we drink milk most of even breakfast most of the breakfast 80% of the breakfast that we take, you know, if even if the cow milk or goat they also human being they have the same blood the same thing like us but so what if they have breast cancer and they produce milk for us to drink because most of our breakfast is milk. So if the breast cancer can be like it can be infectious, like maybe oba or breast cancer now a uba now on nim because Africa there uba they don't check the breast cancer they don't check your breast but what uba and you are giving your baby breast milk. Se cancer no ha say bet me from milk you know I'm a so Akodano say Bema the for they can drink for like to like 5 years. Me get me for na come because 7 years by from them. And see se cancer wo mu that means you are drinking mixing the milk with that cancer kind of like say because say virus whatever it is, you know, you are taking into your system as well. And see, yes, we meat, and those meat, you know, they have female inside. Apochi, and goat, cow, they all have all these things. If they have it, how do we know they have it? Because I don't think they check those people, those animals. All they know is they are producing milk for us to consume. So that applies to you as the human beings. If we are not aware, the question is, do breast cancer also mix with the milk that we feed to our children, or the men that drinks the breast whilst they are reproducing whatever? My question, Nwani.
This is a very sophisticated question, Dr.
Question the crime and tears because that's it.
because we eat meat and we drink milk all the time.
Can I come in and then answer some of the questions
Yes, please.
If I
Please go ahead.
understand him very well.
Yeah.
But only one kaka. No, can be about a mema no more. Emma to create awareness about breast cancer. Very, very key when it comes to the African men. Very, very important. But I just want Uncle Jonas to know say men too can have breast cancer. There is men. Yes. And he was asking about say a hereditary and I say there are some which are a bit so it just comes. Yeah, well, oh dear, estrogen positive and a bit more a positive, maybe a negative. Into there are types of it. Now, what I want to say to him, they say when the breast cancer is on the increase, and I think I will ask doctor to the next day, on my statistics. I remembered over 8 years ago when I was going through mine. Now it was I think about 1 in 5 breast cancer. During the it changed to 1 in 3, and currently it's 1 in 2. And I can tell you, say, because I do advocate and I do support women going through breast cancer. No, I do have a lot of people coming to me when you have breast cancer, and it's quite serious. It's alarming, and we need to be serious when it comes to breast cancer. Now, all the cancers. It's not just breast cancer. It's very, very serious thing. I say everyone has to just really take it as a. And I want to just I hope talk about cow's milk. Healthy eating is very, very important because when you talk about breast cancer, what it is and it's all genetically modified.
Oh.
Yeah, I tend to just tell people say there is no to say cow's milk near but to me we should cut down on the red meat. There are certain things that we need to try and cut. I don't like to say avoid. Let's cut down. And one thing I noticed was a lot of during our treatment, during my treatment, we had a group where guys cancer center when it first opened. Now I was part of we go there for workshops and other things. And most of the things which I always stress on when it comes to breast cancer is to avoid stress. Because most people who had it will tell you that they've gone through some traumatic it's not just breast cancer, it is prostate, it is most of the cancers. Lifestyle changes because the papa. Going back to he said something about Ghana. Ghana, I don't know. Doc, me patcho, who Ghana now, so who UK?
Patcho say more UK.
Oh, okay, all right. Until we are not going to talk about Ghana now.
Ow.
And I think Jonas, I hope I've answered your questions.
But the person that say, animals, do they also get breast cancer? Because we consume our life. If I wake up from bed, most of the food I eat before I go back to bed it's not from my own human being. It's from the opposite of me. So once we're talking about how to avoid, does the research extend that these also animals that we consume, do they also carry, me myself, see, one thing about me, when I ask a question, it's a bit funny, but it's very detailed in a way. Because when we're talking about avoiding accidents, doesn't mean you shouldn't drive a car or sit in a car. You understand? So these details about breast cancer is very important to me because what might be good answers, but the emphasis mean say imwasu oba no mu oba munsu they you see I watch a YouTube video right now. There's a cow, the breast one is small, one is long, but they are still putting the milk out. and we are going to consume it. So as the research extend to beyond that, what we consume as well.
Yeah, Jonas, can I come in?
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, Jonas. Thank you for your always controversial but very important questions. I think it's very important. So, there were a few things I wanted to say, but I've actually forgotten. So I'll just start with what the question you asked about if animals get breast cancer. Depends on the animal. We know that some animals do get breast cancer. So some animals that are closer to human beings or that have like similar, like mammalian animals, so like dogs, they get breast cancer as well. In terms of cattle or cows, there's not really been any reported cancer in cows as far as my knowledge is concerned. I know that we usually have infection in cows, but not really breast cancer. But one of the studies were saying that there's a bit of a fault here because the reasons why we probably don't see breast cancer in cows is because we don't live them to live long enough. So lots of cows are actually slaughtered before they're old enough to develop breast cancer in a way. So the answer is we actually don't know if cows can get breast cancer or not. But to actually really answer the question that you want to know, breast cancer is not something that is contagious. Cancer in itself is not something that is contagious. So if somebody has cancer and you're around the person, you don't tend to get cancer from that person having cancer. Cancer is mainly genetic. When we talk about cancer, whether it's breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, whatever cancer it is, the basis of cancer development is that your body cells are growing faster than your normal cells should be growing. And because they are growing faster, they become a tumor. So, for example, if you think about all the cells in our body, especially with our skin sheds just like dogs and other animals. You physically see dogs' fur sharing. You don't see our skin sharing. But think about it. Have you ever asked yourself a question? Why is it if I sweep my room and by the end of the week, there's dust in the room, but I've not been to the Sahara Desert, I've not been anywhere. Your skin becomes that dust. It's literally your skin shedding. So all our cells grow and all our cells multiply. They multiply at a normal rate. Now we could go through sort of how your cells multiply. There's meiosis, mitosis, all of that. The normal cycle of your cells multiplying, your cells growing, there's a tumor marker which stops your cells from overgrowing. Now, if your cells don't listen to that tumor marker and they overgrow, that's how they become cancerous. Now, that can be affected by environmental factors such as drinking, smoking. It can also be affected by genetic factors. So to answer your actual question, if a mother has breast cancer, usually it's not even advisable to feed a child because if they've got breast cancer, they're probably going through something like chemotherapy or they're going through some sort of therapy. That's the reason we'll say not to feed a baby or, feed a baby. It's not because the breast cancer is going to spread. Because even if you were to ingest cancer cells, very unlikely that you will develop cancer yourself because cancer is not contagious. I hope I've answered your question, Jonas, with that.
Ah man, listen, you and my brother and the new lady, please come on again. I am so happy to hear what you're saying. See, I'm done for the day. I'm done. I'm so happy to hear. Mrs. Abakuna, the new one, so she also nailed it for me, and so I'm happy now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Kodzo said about Auntie Amma. I think we're definitely going to talk to you backstage and we're going to get you back on, especially with this month being the cancer series. I think we'll be more than happy to have you back on. So please drop your number in my DM or Dr. Kodzo's DM and we'll get you back on. Kodzo, is there anything else you wanted to add to that answer?
No, I think I think Jonas mentioned about men should help spread awareness and all that.
Yeah,
I think normally cry no Bema like notice it be an area and as a partner or name the body na because like I mentioned, we have the sexual function. So in a case whereby you are probably one way or the other engaging in the act of sex and then you realize that there is a difference me I prompted or ban because if you're not dream the ending so because sabe Beman in the DDR grow more in Tibia so there is something wrong with it and as he can also prompt you. So the men, please don't go in with the act of just going to satisfy yourself, but try as much as possible because just imagine if your partner gets breast cancer, what are you going to do? I mean, Enya with debut, you might probably not get to play or have like that pleasure that you really want. So, all that I want to add to it, the men should also try as much as possible to pay attention and then encourage it. With that, and I'll just take a question here that someone asked. I'll come to Riri's question, but do men also need to do self breast examination on themselves? It is very important. Like I mentioned, men also get breast cancer, but it's on a lower side. But I think when Auntie Amaya can or say, I'll check the statistics and then come back next week and then we'll talk about it because
I had a quick look.
yeah, okay, cool.
But well, actually, it depends on where you are. So the statistics I looked at was in the US, and it says in the US is 1 in 8. In the UK, they didn't give like 1 in 20 or so, but they said every 10 minutes a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. And at the moment, there's about 564,000, if I can remember correctly, of women diagnosed with breast cancer in the UK. So I don't have the exact statistics of like 1 in 20 or one, and then we can find that out next week and come back and
Okay,
say.
cool. That's fine. So, yes, men are supposed to also like do check because I mean you're not far from it. You can also get it. So why wouldn't you check? So if your brother or something of that, so they shouldn't play with it at all, especially if they have a family history or something, someone there. You might never know. It can happen to anyone. So yes, the answer is just yes.
Just on that note, somebody DM'd me and said that they asked me this question earlier. Sorry, I didn't think I was listening, but apparently they asked if the anatomy of men and women were different in terms of breasts.
Yeah, and I think you were out.
Yeah, I think I was out. Sorry about that. Yeah, so somebody's just DM'd me about that as well. So just from what I remember from med school, I know that is very, very similar. But if you remember the anatomy that Dr. Kojo put on before, where those little pink blobs, what were they called? Not the ducts, the lobules.
Yeah.
So the only difference between men and women is that men have less lobules than women. Even men still have lobules, but women just have more lobules because we need them more. That's why another thing is I think one of the series will talk more about men's breasts, but if you know, there's something called galactorrhea, and basically it's when men actually produce milk in their breasts, and actually men get breast milk, or they get discharged from their nipples. That for if a man gets discharged from the nipples, that is usually pathological. That's usually disease. But the men can still produce milk in their. Another on the adverse side also, if a woman is not at a breastfeed, and so if you've not given birth and you start producing milk, that's also pathological. So as much as our breasts are there to produce milk, if you haven't, the trigger for your body to produce milk is childbirth. And if you've not had childbirth, let's say a 16-year-old girl or somebody who's just started menstruating starts producing milk in their breast, that's also pathological. So we need to look into that. So yeah, the main difference in anatomy between men and women is that men have less lobules than us, but everything else is the same. So men, when you look at that anatomy, that's what your breast looks like as well.
Okay, thank you, doctors. So we are a bit pressed for time, but we're going to go through all the questions in the chat, 3 in number, and we'll end with Liz's question with her hands up. So we start with Riri's question, as you said, Dr. Kojo, which is, how do I teach my non-medical mother to differentiate signs of breast access from that of breast cancer?
Does she mean abscess?
Abscess?
Yeah.
Probably that.
Yeah.
I mean, so abscess is more like an infection that causes a collection of pus in the breast. I think it's often associated sometimes, not every time, with breastfeeding. Sometimes it's not associated with breastfeeding, but it actually develops rapidly. It develops very, very fast. Whilst breast cancer takes time, like it's progressive. It doesn't just show up like that and all that. But to teach your non-medical mother, apart from it, it's developing very fast. I think I would advise, since you have access to the internet and all that, you see the science and everything that I showed, you can probably just print some of these things, right? And then you show it to, like, you can actually show it that, is there any pus? Is there any fluid coming out? Or this is it, like when you start having the pale signs. When we get into breast cancer and then we start showing like the real signs of how it actually develops, you'll be able to differentiate like breast cancer and then breast abscess. But these two are way two different things. Like breast cancer is way to the extreme and it takes time. It doesn't just get up and then develop. But I would breast cancer I'll always say, like, just like Auntie Alma say, that a visual representation will always be key, because you can't just say it with your mouth and then they'll understand it. So you get a picture, you just print a picture, and then when you pick up from our subsequent talks, you can go back and then like teach her like how to differentiate between the two. I don't know if Dr. Akos has something to add to it.
Well, I know, again, I think demographics are different. So for anybody in the UK or the Western world where access to healthcare is relatively simple, I would say they don't need to know how to differentiate between breast cancer and breast abscess, because either way, you need to go to the hospital. So you as a layman should not need to differentiate between the two. You just need to know that something's wrong with your breasts. So that's where I'll come from. But again, from maybe a third world perspective where there's not that much access to, healthcare and actually knowing whether this is serious and do I need to go immediately, or is this something that maybe I can get some antibiotics and treat? From that point of view, yes, I agree with Dr. Kodzo that the breast well, the first thing to know is that there's something wrong with your breast. Because an abscess, you will see it. You'll see the skin changes, and those skin changes, you could think, is this cancer, is this an abscess? Usually an abscess would, like Dr. Kodzo was saying, if you get a pussy collection, you'll get some redness around it. It might even be warm to touch. Having said that, if you thought, okay, it's a breast abscess, and you treated yourself for the 7-day course or even a 2-week course of antibiotics, and the symptoms did not improve, then I would be worried, because any abscess should improve with antibiotics. Because it's essentially it's a bacterial infection. It's an infection to antibiotics. It might not go away completely, which means you might need a longer course of antibiotics, but it should improve. But if there's no improvement, then again, this is a telltale sign. So I think on the initial presentation, it will be difficult to tell the difference. Is this a cancer? Is this an abscess? And Dr. Kodzo also said something about the time it takes to develop. Yes, that's quite right. Breast cancer is sort of almost slow growing. And by the time a breast cancer comes to look like a breast abscess, it's a bit far gone anyway. But yeah, so essentially either way you need to see a healthcare professional, but these are the sort of ways that I would differentiate between the two.
Sorry, to add to this, I always don't encourage people to, like you just said, you made a very good point that the moment you see something, just go to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your breast. You wouldn't want to play with it. You wouldn't want to treat yourself. And the fact that she mentioned antibiotics, it's not every antibiotic. I will just say this. It's not that you just go to the counter and go and get antibiotics and you'll be fine. No.
Like amoxicillin will not work for breast.
It's not going to work. So don't put it at the back of your mind that the moment you see this, you just go and it will work. So just when you see any signs or anything of that, so I think you should just rush to the hospital.
Yeah. Thank you, doctors. So when we see any signs, hospital straight. So that leads us to the next lovely question from Nancy, which is, when is the right time to check? Obviously, with my layman mind, I think they say that as often as possible, once a month, once every 2 weeks. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, I think that there's no magic frequency for breast examination. I think I would suggest it to be done at least, I mean, as often as you want. Maybe
thinking about it, I mean, if you imagine if you did that, so something will be doing every day or once a week, that's too much. I think once a month is safe.
I was even going to say 3 months. Like,
yeah, because I was going to say, even me, last time must have been 5 years ago. Like, I don't do what I do what I say. Okay. Yeah, essentially, like, I know it's something that usually we don't even think about, but I think a lot of the time it's very important. I think if you're very cautious, if you've got like family history of breast cancer and you're worried about it, definitely once a month, I think, just to keep yourself sane. Avoid doing it when you're on your menstruation or during your cyclical times, because when you're on your menstruation, you're going to have lumps in your breast regardless, and you're just going to scare yourself to death for no reason. Do it when you're at least 2 weeks past your menstruation. For people who are on menopause, still do it, but do it when, again, even with menopause, cycles kind of still happen during menopause. You might not be menstruating, but your cycles are still pretty much the same. Don't do it when you are supposed to be having your menstruation, if you were menstruating, if you're still kind of keeping up with that is. But, if you do find lumps in your breast during menopause, again, you can monitor it for about 2 weeks, see if it disappears. If it doesn't disappear, then go into the hospital. But actually, maybe that's not the best advice, because as soon as you find love, the quicker you you get it checked out, the better. So if you find lumps in your breast and you're on menopause, don't wait 2 weeks, just go straight and get the scan done. But if you're menstruating and you find lumps in your breast, then that's pretty much just cyclical lumps and that's normal.
So I was just going to ask a question on the back of that. Can something drastically happen between month 1 when you check and month 3? Say you're saying it every quarterly, right? So I check in March and I'm great and fine, and I check June, July. Something can happen within that space of time.
If within that, let's say if you check, let's say the last time you checked was June, and you, on fingers crossed, touch wood, you suddenly develop breast cancer in July, but obviously you've not checked, and the next time you check is basically like August or September. Obviously, you've left that cancer has then been growing for 2 months. If you think about it. So that's why we say check as regularly as possible. I would say to be safe, just even once a month is fine. A few weeks is not going to cause much of a difference, but months can cause a difference. So yeah, once a month I think is safe. As much as I say that, like I say, I don't even do it myself, but just try to do it. If you remember, it's easy, like Dr. Kodzo was saying, in the shower as well. I think the reason we say in the shower as well is because you're already naked, like might as well. Like you don't
Dr. Kodzo said it's because when it's slippery.
Yeah. No, but that's true. But I mean, it's also for ease. Like, when it's slippery, it's probably easier to like feel the lumps and the different contours of the breasts when it's slipperier. But also, it's because you're already naked. Like, you don't need to take your shirt off. And if you do feel something, you can, when you get out of the shower, you can just quickly look in the mirror and see, are there any skin changes? Are there actually anything else that I can have a look? But yeah, when you're taking a shower, when you're cleaning your armpit, just remember and just have a little feel. And,
just to reaffirm, Esther said she was advised by GP to check at least twice a month. So at least twice, once to twice a month, should cover it. That's excellent. Thank you, doctors. And now to our next question from Smooth. I love the name. Very enlightening. Thank you. Do men also need to do self-breast examination now? I think I was going to say, and that you have. I think you have. And then if they have close relatives that have had breast cancer. So this links to the genetic question.
I answered that it's very important for men to also do check it. And I think we'll delve into the genetics. We have, is it the BRCA1, BRCA2?
Yeah,
we'll go there later. We can. It's a very big and people didn't really come early today, so I'll encourage people to come very early so that we can have more time to talk about some of these things.
We're running out of time and I'm hungry, so.
Well, we've got, I did say one last question, but we've got 2 questions. We've got 2 hands up. We'll go to Liz first.
And then Thelma.
And Thelma after, and then we'll close off. So Liz.
Good evening. Well, Dr. Kodzo just said we should come early. Remember, Wednesday, some of us are a bit busy, so we have to run to the meeting. Yes, I'm sorry, I came late. So I was going to say, I don't know if you explained earlier. What's the age limit for, now I forgot the name of it.
Mammogram.
That's it. You're reading my mind tonight,
Yes, I think from the beginning I mentioned that I think every country and how I think they have their age limit, but from 40 upwards it's very important. But anytime, if you have a history of breast cancer in your family, it is advised that 5 years, 10 years earlier to that. I don't know what, maybe Dr. Kodzo was told something different, but 5 years, 10 years is encouraged. Before the 40 years, you have to go get checked by normally 40 years and above. I don't know, Dr. Kodzo.
I think it used to be 40 here, and then it suddenly changed to 50. So I know that we now do it 50 to 71. But the funny thing is, I know people personally who, again, they've stopped checking after the age of 65. So I think it really, I don't know what happens with it, but according to NHS guidelines, between 50 to 71, you're supposed to get sort of regular mammograms. I think it's either yearly or 3 yearly, depending on what the results are. If you've got a family history, as early as you start menstruating, literally you start, if a close first relative, you start getting tested as well. So it really depends. But what you have to remember as well, regardless of the limit, if you want, so for example, if somebody is 71 and the national screening for like mammogram has stopped, they can request for it themselves. So don't feel like just because the screening has stopped, you can't do it. You can actually still request for it, and your GP will provide it. It's just that your GP, unlike between the 50 to 71, your GP will be the one who will tell you, oh, your mammogram is due, go for a mammogram scan. Like when you're up 71, nobody will bother with it. But if you want to still keep getting checked, you just have to request to your GP, oh, can I get a mammogram? Because you're never too old to get breast cancer.
Question, you probably answered this. I was just checking for questions. At what age are you eligible to get these mammogram what's it called, invites, should I say?
At 50 to 71, essentially. Within the NHS program, it's 50 to 71.
Why so late?
Because the risk group for breast cancers are usually is elderly. If you don't have like a family history or like a genetic predisposition to it, is younger people don't tend to get breast cancer. It's usually older people who tend to get breast cancer.
Okay. And also when you talk about obviously it being genetics, who are the close family members that get that? So for example, if your cousin
maternal, I see where you're going with this maternal side.
Yeah, so if a cousin on my father's side has it, is it cause for concern?
Maternal side, but mother or like grandmother, usually cousins and things they're not really first relatives in that way. So it's usually mother, grandmother. I even think aunties, I don't think even aunties are involved. I think it's literally mother, grandmother. No, I think not an auntie, sorry, an aunties. But so in our case, it was our auntie's cousin. So it's not that close, but it's like mother, grandmother, aunties. These are like maternal side. Yeah.
Daughter, darling.
Yeah, exactly. So if it was auntie, then it would be
a maternal. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Just to clarify what we mean by a close relative. No, not just for myself.
No, I understand, and it's important to know. I get muddled sometimes as well.
So I've got Ama's hand. I know Thelma you were first, but I think Ama wants to contribute to the topic.
Add on to it, that's fine.
I'll let you go first, then Thelma will end it with her question.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to just oh sorry, I didn't make kind of cool. Yes, I know you're talking about when you can have mammogram. You don't have to wait for mammogram. If you detect anything suspicious, you need to just contact your GP, and then you need to go and have your mammogram. I wasn't 50 when I had breast cancer. I was only 47. And I took myself to the GP. That was 2013. And then I saw like a gland in my armpit. I didn't know it was my lymph nodes. And when I palpate it, it moves. Sometimes I notice it swells up. So I took it to the GP because my background, I'm a specialist midwife and I'm a lactation consultant. So I tend to just work with the breast care nurses. So I spoke to them and then they said, oh, okay, go and see your GP. I saw my GP, said, oh, everything was okay. So I just took their word for, because she examined me, she said, it's okay. 3 years down the line, I just thought, no, this thing, I need to go and check it. I had to fight. That was 2016 for them to just go and just to examine it. And one day the GP said, okay, you're 47, then you are not, you're not 50, but I will send you for a mammogram. And I'm so happy. I thank God that I was given the opportunity to go and then have it done. And then that was when, although they couldn't find a lump in my breast, it was my lymph nodes I was feeling. So when they did the biopsy that is when they found out that I had cancer. They found cancer cells in my lymph nodes.
Yeah.
So again, we need to be assertive. We need to fight for, listen to your body. If you think that something is not right, go to your GP. I know things have changed now that, it's quite difficult. The GPs will not even send you for MRI and CT scan. But if you know you're right, you need to really just make sure that you and you tell your GP, and then you tell the GP, yes, let me just go and have, some screening.
Just to clarify what you're saying, Amma, and this is what we were saying before, it's not that if you find something on examination, then of course you can go and request for mammogram.
Okay. All right.
But I was saying in terms of the national screening program, so that's at the age of 50 to 71, even if you haven't found anything, there's a national screening program which basically checks your breast regardless of whether you found something or not. But of course, if you've done an examination and you found a lump or something, then you have to go into the hospital. You have to go and get a mammogram. The trouble is with going to your GP, like for example, somebody like me, if I go to my GP and I say, can I get a mammogram? And the GP says, is there a lump in your breast? Is there a lump on it? And you say no, and there's no reason to get the mammogram, you will not get the mammogram, no matter how many times you ask, because we, as a coming from a GP's perspective, I cannot justify a scan when there is no symptoms for the scan. It's like somebody coming to me and saying, oh, I just want a CT scan of my stomach. Can I have a CT scan of my stomach? And I say, okay, do you have any symptoms? And they say, no, I just want a CT scan to make sure there's nothing there. I can't justify that scan, so I can't send you for that scan. But if you found a lump in your breast, of course you can go to your GP and say, can I have a mammogram? So definitely good point to make. And I think somebody in the chat has made just quickly, somebody in chat made a note as well, saying that from their experience, the diagnosis is coming in late. And it's true, because it used to be the age of 40. I don't know why they've gone up to 50 now. But like I said, at some age, I think you just need to be, like Amma is saying, you need to be vigilant. You need to do these tests yourself, so that even if there's a little lump, that you're worried about, you're concerned about, you need to go into your GP and say, hey, there's a lump here. Can I get further assessment, please?
So, like Amma said, so my problem. Oh, sorry. Did Dr. Kodzo want to say something?
Yeah, I think I don't know, but back in those days, I don't know if it still persists, but I think it should. The reason why sometimes they don't allow you to even get mammogram at a very early stage, I don't know. I'm sure Dr. Akosen, I think whoever, any practitioner, breast density. When you are younger, the mammogram won't be able to pick it.
Okay, yeah.
You understand? Because when you are younger, it is you have a denser breast, and it's not going to back. It is perceived that when you grow, it will be able to pick up like everything. And also another thing is exposure to radiation. You wouldn't want to be exposed to a radiation at a very younger age, which is going to actually like affect you later on in future. So they weigh all these options. And it's also lower risk, like there is a lower risk in the younger people than the older people. But I mean, the way the world is moving, like it's progressing, and there's a whole lot of things going on. So sometimes you don't know. Maybe you can go in and then they'll tell you, okay, go for it. And then they might see something. Sometimes they might not see something. They can do it and they might not see anything as a then, but they will tell you to probably come back, let's say, like she said, like 3 years later or something of that sort, then it will be able to, it will pick it. Doesn't mean that the thing is gone. It's there, but it's just that the machine can actually pick it. We don't have 100% efficiency like machine efficacy machine. So that's how the world that we live in. So these are some of the reasons why they don't really advise that you probably because I'm also exposing you to something later on in the future. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add to it.
Okay, I was just going to say, so as Amma said, what if I've stood in the, so I've had this experience where I stood in the mirror one time and I thought I had a lump. And I was very hysterical, and I called my GP and they brought me in immediately, and then he did his own examination and he said everything was fine and just sent me away. So I haven't been called back for anything. I'm fine. Apparently I naturally have lumpy breasts or whatever it is. So it's very difficult to stand when that happens. What if I still feel like I want that assurance, or I want that check, and I was like, I feel would I still get that mammogram if I persist and insist and continue to say I'm feeling lumps?
Yep.
So the even though the GP has checked to say there's nothing there.
Exactly what Amma did is quite right. You oftentimes, you go to your GP, they might check and say they don't feel anything. But I always say, especially with it, sometimes you have to fight for your rights, exactly how Amma put it. If you go back home and you feel like that lump is still there, you go back to the GP and you demand for a scan, and you say, and you sometimes some GPs are very reasonable. They will say, actually, do you know what? And somebody like me, I'll give you the scan. I would rather check you than not. But some GPs feel like, they've got 50 years of experience. Some GPs are at the age of retirement, 70-year-old GP, like, I've been doing this for 50 years. That's not a lump. And, they're telling you about your body. And sometimes I find that a bit, but you just need to be consistent, and you need to say, hey, I have this lump. Like, I'm worried about this lump, and and you just need to stand your ground. So essentially, and I'm very sorry to hear, Amma, that obviously on the initial presentation that it took 3 years before you were diagnosed, and thank God that everything's gone okay. But that could have really gone the other way, because that's a whole 3 years for a tumor to be growing when she spotted that 3 years ago, and it was obviously the fault of the GP not to recognize that. So this is a classic example of when a patient has said something's wrong with my body and a doctor said, no, I know your body better than you do.
Right, exactly. Oh, this is very lovely. And finally, our last question, Thelma. First of all, before Thelma starts, we want to thank everybody for staying and still being here. Thelma, please go on.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
What about if you have a sensitive nipple and also itchiness around the nipple?
Yeah. So so it depends. I think it depends on how long the itchiness has been. So if you think about it, like we talked about the Paget's nipple, so you get an itchiness around the nipple, skin changes. If you generally have itchiness around your nipple, and let's say if it's the first time it happens and you've checked it out and there's nothing, and and it keeps being consistent and you keep checking it out and there's nothing, then I guess it's just you've just got an itchy nipple. But if on the first presentation, I would always say, get it checked out. There are people who do have itchy nipples. There are people who do have sensitive nipples, and that can be natural to some people. But the whole point is if something new happens or there's a new symptom that you're not aware of, that's just suddenly happened out of nowhere, get it checked out, because it's better to get a mammogram and mammogram say there's nothing there and your nipples are just itchy. At least you're reassured, there's nothing and you've not wasted anybody's time. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there are natural presentations of itchy nipple, but the only thing is be careful that is the nipple only itchy? Are there skin changes around the nipple? Is there a discharge around the nipple? Is there inversion of the nipple? And yeah, are there any other changes in the breast? So these are some of the things you need to look out for.
Okay, thank you.
Anything to add, Dr. Kodzo?
Okay. The last thing I'm going to talk about, my last words. I'm very big on hygiene. Please, your bras, wash them regular washing. It's not, regular washing of it is not good to keep them, like you sweat in them and then all of that, and it's not advisable that you keep on carrying them back and then be wearing them. It's not good. It's not hygienic for your partner too. So I think next week I'll encourage each and everyone to come early so that we can continue and then talk a bit more about that. And I'll speak to Auntie Amma and then see where we can actually fix her in so that she can also come in and share her own experience. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Dr. Kodzo, for coming on. Dr. Akos?
Dr. Akos is busy.
Okay, so Dr. Akos is busy, so that's fine. I would just like to say a big thank you to Dr. Kodzo for heeding to our call and coming onto the show. As ever, very grateful for your insight, for your knowledge, and for your presentation. I think there's a comment about hormonal changes causing nipple appearance, which is great because we have this series going on, and I think for the rest of the month we will be doing things on breast cancer and all of these, and we will talk more into all these different ones. I would also like to thank our sponsors, OT Media, Tap Send, for sponsoring us and allowing this show to go on and to happen. And we'll also, most importantly, like to thank every single person who has joined from day one, continues to join, and thank you for staying even though we go over the time every single week. And we thank you for being interactive and asking your questions and making this show lively and what it is. I would just like to also say that tomorrow, Thursday at 8 p.m, there is a time with Tap Send. That is tomorrow and every Thursday. And on Fridays, every Friday, there is Ask the Lawyer, which is also the same time at 8 p.m. So please do join those shows as well. And for now, thank you, everyone. Have a great night and see you next week and next Wednesday and every other Wednesday for more on breasts.
Mr. Mankwa.
Good night.
Me office was saying this cabane de awie ni project no. Eso de bia me office ka mane wo problem.
Enemremu. Na monte tap sending kan.
No so ne de.
Tap send dey easy, fast and secured way. Ubetimi send this free amanone. Aba Ghana bank account and as a mobile money account. Untia transfer fee bia.
Sir, I obey any say.
Chire ni say won ko App Store na Play Store. On download the Tap Send app no. or download dia ebebu sanso promo code oma de pet TV nshim obenya €5 £5 and answer $10 on his first transfer
ene me kwa akofre na aka akire
tabi minyanwie esanse tap send at the good news aba tap send the gene customers wonti or the tap send wallet aba
no obey ne say
so your customer wo UK sisia ubetimi akọ tap send app no no create wallet wo so enti se rate ne kosora now the sika kogu wallet no anase mpo ubetimi atu susu nkakra enti abre sem a opeso send sika ba Ghana no anse wa send sika na ba Ghana anase uba o my Ghana mu a watimi ayusu sika e wo wallet no tie
and you said to say you sumo Ghana hayru
sa pepe se si tap send that trainer shim Kopium wo United Arab Emirates, Netherlands, and Austria. Tap sender now. Papa no.
It's all begun in London.
Welcome to the stage, Diana.
So it's only right that the 10th anniversary is crowned with a celebration in London. The Akwaintupa Experience with Diana Hamilton's 10th anniversary edition live in London takes place on Saturday, the 5th of October at the Dominion Centre, 9 The Broadway, High Road, London, N22 6DS. Doors open at 5 p.m. featuring Kobe Mante, Charlotte Appiah, and with special guest artist Ada Ehi.
Congratulations, you're in the glory of God.
God is about to blow your mind. Tickets are £25 standard single, £45 standard double, £50 gold VIP, or £70 platinum VIP with meet and greet. Tickets are available on eventbrite.com or dianahamilton.com. For more information, contact +44 7493 514 477. The Akwaintupa Experience with Diana Hamilton 10th Anniversary Edition live in London. This is the doing of the Lord.
Hey,